This is your coaching members exclusive training. I'm Joe Crisara, America's service sales coach. Welcome to the Balanced Diagnosis Mastery Course. Most people are out of balance when they diagnose system problems. All of the training for people in the trades focuses on diagnosing technical problems with no people skills training. We will go over creating value by focusing on how people are impacted and how they'll use your solutions. We will also go over how to stay in balance between the problems and solutions in a system and the people who use them. Finally, we will go over how to communicate that the investment in your solutions is an investment in their family. This lesson is called the Balanced Diagnosis Overview. As you may recall in our training, we tell a story of Jerry the landscaper. Now, this story is rich with so many lessons, but specifically it teaches us a lesson about being in balance when we diagnose systems. The story starts with a local landscaper named Kim, who comes out totally prepared to give us an estimate on the landscaping for our brand new home. Kim got the county records of our property, complete with the property lines, the dimensions, and the structure all laid out. He essentially had a blueprint of our property. When he showed up, he told me he had a proprietary process to get the job done. He said he would need some time by himself to be able to take soil samples, measurements, and elevations of the property to confirm he could do it. He spent 2 hours outside of our home as we sat inside by ourselves watching a movie and having lunch. He was busy trying to diagnose everything with extreme precision. He then asked if he could sit down at our kitchen table to make some sketches. Now, Julie and I both asked him, "Do you have any questions for us?" He said, "No, I'm going to be busy for a little bit making all these drawings." Well, Kim sat there for another 2 hours. He was sketching out a meticulous landscape plan. He showed us everything he did to make the landscape plan and to try to make our home in his world look beautiful. He had both the English and Latin names of all the plants and trees sketched onto the plan. He also included a deck in the backyard as well. Everything he did was meticulous with precision, including all the dimensions and elevations. He finally showed us the price to do the job that he designed for our home. Now, after taking up 4 hours of our time and his, my wife and I asked him if we could just keep the drawing while we thought about it for a couple weeks. Now, the price of his landscaping job was roughly $16,000. But obviously, the price of his time, intellectual property, and design was free. He gladly said, "Yes, here's the drawing for you to keep." He then shook our hands, gave us a business card, and said, "Call me back when you're ready." Although Julie and I were impressed with his talent and precision, we felt something was missing because we had no input on Kim's plan. He never involved us, so it was his plan and not ours. Now, that same day, we had another estimate from Jerry the landscaper, whose office was just across the state line. Jerry ran the call completely different. We even asked Jerry, "Hey, Jerry, do you want to go outside and take some measurements or do something like that?" Jerry said, "Why don't you guys just come outside with me so we can all go over this together, and I'm going to ask you a few questions." So Julie and I smiled at each other and said, "Sure, let's go outside." So once we got outside, Jerry stood right next to Julie and I on the rough, tumbled surface of dirt and clay in our brand new yard. And he asked, "Julie and Joe, when you look at this backyard, after all the landscaping is finished, what do you guys see?" And I started to think, but then Jim quickly jumped in. She said, "Jerry, I'd like the yard to have a Mediterranean feel to it." Now, she went on to say, I'd like to have tall arborvitae trees on the back fence, tumbled old world brick patio stones with a retaining wall. She also started talking about a pergola to shade us from the sun with vines on the structure. Then Jerry asked me, Joe, what do you see when you look at this backyard? I said, well, I'd like an area where I can do some recreation with my son. Maybe a place where we can play catch and just do things together. I also like to get a barbecue so I can cook out here. So Jerry took us to the front yard and did the exact same thing. He simply asked both of us what we imagined the property would look like when it was all finished and it was beautiful. Then Jerry said, so guys, if I spend some time taking photographs and measurements and came back with a solution that was perfect for you and your family, what would happen then? Well, Julie and I both agreed. We looked at each other and said, yes, we'd move forward if you could do anything like we were just talking about. Now, fast forward to the end of the opportunity, and Julie and I purchased a $57,000 landscape package from Jerry the landscaper. When Kim called us back and asked us what we wanted to do, we told him that his price was out of our budget, and we went with somebody else instead. Now, what we didn't tell him was that we spent over 3.5 times more money with somebody else. So what was the difference between Kim and Jerry? Simply put, Jerry was in balance. He created premium, mid-range, and economy options that were customized to my family. And how did he do it? He involved Julie and I in our family, where Kim did not. Not only did he provide everything we asked for, he also suggested a putting green for me and a koi pond for Julia with a waterfall. He also suggested an irrigation system so we can water the grass, and 5 years of service to shovel snow and cut the grass as well. So what was the value of being in balance for Jerry? Well, in this case, it was 3.5 times more opportunity than the job we felt was customized and relevant to our family. It was our design, and Jerry just helped us get there. Now, as a footnote, when we sold this house, it was valued at more than twice as much than any other property had ever sold for in that subdivision. So we also received a return on our investment as well. So there are 3 things I want you to learn as a result of this lesson. Number 1, being out of balance and focusing too much on technical solutions makes customers feel left out. Number 2, involving clients by getting their input will create higher value and differentiate your solutions. And number 3, people always rate higher than things. So make sure you're not only finding problems and solutions, but also diagnose how your clients will benefit from them as well. Now, let's get started. Almost everybody in the trades has been trained to focus on diagnosing the exact problem that people are having with their mechanical systems. Hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars on tools are spent on trying to nail down the exact issue so you can look competent to your client. The obsession with finding the technical problems and leaving out the people who are impacted by them creates an imbalance to our approach. Instead of looking for the exact problem, expert technicians always zoom out to evaluate the whole system first. What good will it do to solve a problem if the system is designed or installed wrong? Solving problems without fixing the system is malpractice and will lead to callbacks and disappointment. So in order to solve the problem completely and thoroughly, the whole system must be evaluated. On the technical side, zooming out to look at the age, neglect, design, installation, and the problem are part of any great service. Looking at the client history, you could also find some problems due to the design, installation, neglect that have repeatedly happened in the past. Ask yourself what has been done in the past to fix or update the system so these problems don't keep reoccurring. What can we do now to stop those issues from happening. Also ask yourself, what can be done to eliminate safety, health, age, neglect, and lifestyle problems with the system in the future? Would it be updating, upsizing, eliminating, or rebuilding the system? Remember, on the technical side, these have to be facts and not just your opinion. Now, on the people side, zooming out to look at how many people use the system, how they use it, what they like, and what they don't like is essential as well. To make this point more clearly, let me go ahead and give you an example. Let's say on the technical side that there's an electrical fault in the system and it's not working. But on the people side, you learn that the man's wife just had a baby and she and the baby are coming home from the hospital tomorrow. Now, would you agree the wife and the newborn baby coming home from the hospital is at least as important as getting the electrical problem fixed? Imagine later on when you explain the problem to the client. Right now, there's electrical fault in the system. My greatest fear is, what did you say about Lori and the baby coming home from the hospital today, David? Also imagine showing people your premium option that's called the Platinum Plus Let's Welcome Lori and Jacob Home from the Hospital electrical renovation. Remember, in the past, they may not have taken that seriously, but now that there's a newborn baby is coming home, things are going to be completely different for now and in the future. Let's say you learned on the technical side that a drain system was restricted, and now there's water all over the floor. But on the people side, you learned that the husband's mother was going to be living with the family while she recovers from hip surgery. I think we can all agree that a restricted drain is pretty bad. But what's worse is imagining my mom recovering from hip surgery slipping on the wet floor. Remember this one customer service truth, and it may guide you to doing things the right way every time. Electrical, plumbing, HVAC systems in the home are worthless if there are no people who use them. Stay in balance with your diagnosis, and you'll be able to emphasize not only the problems, but also how it will affect the people in the home. You'll also be able to share the benefits to your client of fixing the problem so their family will be comfortable, safe, and healthy. Now, here are 3 things I want you to do as a result of this lesson. First, always zoom out to diagnose the entire system and the problem on every single call. Next, involve your clients by asking questions to find the impact of the system and the problem they're having on them. Finally, stay in balance when you explain both the problems and the solutions so your clients feel like this is an investment in their family. Now, I want everybody to use the worksheet at the end of this lesson to role play the balanced diagnosis with you and your team right now.